that room was mobbed and the energy was, cocktail hour. I mean, it was like really full on, and that's hard to do. Hi, I'm Bruce Pask. I'm men's fashion director of Bergdorf Goodman and Neiman Marcus. I'm really happy to be here, and thank you for joining me for another London Fashion Week creative conversation. I'm here joined by designer Bianca Saunders, who I'm thrilled to have. Hi, Bianca. How are you doing?
Good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Thanks for joining us here virtually in London Fashion Week's first virtual platform. I'm really, really happy to talk with you. I want to first start out by congratulating you on being named one of Forbes 30 Under 30 just in March, which is an amazing achievement. Congratulations.
Thank you. It kind of just gives me the motivation just to keep going. Because I think before, hearing the news, I was kind of a bit down on myself, a bit doubting my position in fashion, and then receiving accolades like that, it's like a massive push to just keep going, keep doing the brand, and then I guess just making sure that I'm on the list. I'm still existing 10 years later, so people don't look back and be like, oh, I don't remember that person anymore, kind of thing. Yep. That's how my mind always works when it comes to self-motivating, making sure that the things that I'm showing on the internet are able to exist in the future.
I think those affirmations are really important, and I think especially so for brands that are kind of just out of the gate and entering the market. I think the support is necessary, and I think the BFC also has done an amazing job fostering young talent, and we've also won the BFC New Gen Award, which is also an amazing accolade, and another, I would say, career boost that I hope gives you a good sense of security about your future as an important designer.
Yeah, definitely. I think all the brands that I've really admired have gone through that path. And the BFC have been very supportive in terms of giving me an actual platform to show my work, and I'm pretty sure my version of myself is extremely proud of how I've been able to achieve and be amongst people that their clothes are everywhere.
I want to talk about how working is for you now. I mean, obviously we're at home. You were working out of a studio in Brixton, and so now you're constructing at home and then working also with factories. How's that all going?
At first it was really hard. I just didn't really want to let go of the freedom of being able to get from A to B. I remember probably around March the 13th when everyone was kind of considering, okay, we need to start settling down at home and just preparing to kind of work from home. I was still on the run, still visiting the factories. Luckily my factories are based in the UK, based in London.
Great.
So I still have accessibility. It was accessible for me to kind of run it to and from. And then my family have been quite supportive, so they've allowed me to bring all my stuff back home from my studio that was in Brixton. So I've just been
basically set up shop at home for the meantime.
Yeah. So I have industrial sewing machine. I've got a working table. I've got a mannequin. And I guess it helps me having all the skills and abilities to do most of the stuff myself. Using all the skills I used during university has really helped me be able to survive through this.
There must be an amazing sense of security in that you can be self-sufficient. I think that's such an amazing ability to have, to be able to drape, to be able to sew, to be able to create on your own. Obviously, you need factories to help produce the collections, but to be able to kind of generate that on your own, I think must be a huge relief, and also I imagine really interesting and fun to do when it's not under the pressure of needing to produce it on your own.
What I've really been enjoying is being now it's lunchtime, I'm gonna go for a walk, or being told that you have 1 hour of exercise, and then factoring that 1 hour to kind of do what you need to do. So I think it's kind of had its silver linings to it.
I want to talk a little bit about how we met. Obviously we come together for the catwalk presentations and for, static presentations, but the part that's a little bit more, I would say abstract is having conversations at fashion shows with friends and retailers, and somebody saying oh, you've got to meet this person, you've got to see this brand. And that is how I came about meeting you. I mean, we have a dear friend in common called Charlie Porter, who for me is one of our most brilliant writers. and his take on fashion for me is always so incisive, and I respect him immensely. And he told me when I was on my way to Florence, he was like, you've got to go see Bianca Saunders. And that's how I found out about you. And he urged me to go and visit you. And so I went to go meet you at 5 Curators, 1 room at Petit 11 Florence. And that was where you showed that was your graduate collection from the RCA, right?
I got that opportunity because of Harris Elliott, who's a creator and a stylist. And I guess he's been like a person that supported me. And he was like, would you like to come and be a part of this space? So prior going to that trip, I met Charlie Porter from my graduate show. So he like saw the collection. I remember him like stopping me in the hallway when it was a show and was like, congratulations, I really loved it. And he came to find me. And then I messaged him and sort of like kept in contact from then. And then we met up, and I guess he was just giving me like really good advice and like told me to apply for certain platforms.
He's such an advocate for young designers, for people in school and recent graduates. And I find he's such a champion for new and young design, and what an amazing advocate to have. You know, I was very grateful to meet you, and it was really nice to see your first collection. And then that led to your showing at London Fashion Week Men's. You had 4 presentations. And then you won the BFC New Gen Prize, which was, you know, again, such an amazing affirmation of a fledgling brand, of your talent, and of your growing business. I'd love to talk about how that impacted you as a growing designer and then as a new collection, and how that really affected you.
I guess in my head, I really wanted to start my own brand. And then from, I guess, meeting you at Petit Homo, I also met the director from Matches, so like they became interested as well too. So if I can get this sort of attention from these buyers, then I have a place within the fashion industry. So I decided to apply for the British Fashion Council's like One to Watch, and then I all of a sudden like I got it, and I was like, wow, this is actually really happening. I'm able to actually achieve the dreams I would like to see myself in the future career. It's kind of like skyrocketed from there, like in terms of press and like having that push and notability, being a part of like New Gen. There's so many other designers that I admired that came from that program. Yeah, I wouldn't change anything for the world.
You know, you are doing basically everything yourself, and to have these affirmations and I think the support, and I think BFC is so great at encouraging the development of new design, and they recognize, and I think it's, you know, very specific to London, where the traditional, you know, menswear houses have a lot of value, Savile Row, adjacent brands, you know, English shoemaking, but I think it's also, there's an equal importance to young and new design. I think it's one of those cities where you really feel the importance of both of those, and I think the BFC does a great job of you know, really helping develop, and I think these are important. I want to talk about your design aesthetic, race and masculinity, and even the challenges of masculinity for me have always been a part of when I think about a Bianca Saunders collection. And I looked at a video that you did with this gentleman called Urbane Wolf, and he had this amazing quote that I really love, and he talked about taking refuge in femininity. And I just want to talk a little bit about that because it really struck me, and I thought it was something very, very particular to you and your brand.
Whilst I was at the RCA, identity and I guess who I am was how I kind of explored myself and explored the concept of my work. I think just the idea of like kind of going to like somewhere central to go to university, and then also having the escapism of like meeting my friends, like on the weekends, or maybe like going to certain events. It was like almost like living 2 different worlds. So film became like a massive part of my work, and be able to show like the people and represent an idea of someone that I didn't really feel like had a place within fashion, or I wouldn't say a place within fashion, but had a difficulty of like existing. So like the type of balance of like masculine and feminine energy, and the masculine and feminine nuances was a big thing for me to kind of show, and like trying to explore that was quite difficult in a way. and express that within my work, whether it is like a small detail of the shoulder pad or slightly exposing the skin but not going all the way there, and then trying to find the balance of the in-between.
Were you clear that you wanted to get into menswear from the get-go, or did that develop?
When I was at Kingston University, I always did women's wear. And then I had a tutor called Andrew Eby, and then I guess he saw my work. A lot of the images I would like pick up were usually like either menswear or menswear inspired. All the sources I was interested in were like menswear. And then he was just like, "Oh, why don't you just try menswear?" And I was like, "I don't think I can do this at all." And then I tried it for my graduate collection, and it just felt like it was so much easier. I found it a lot more freeing for myself to kind of create my own space. There's so many like good women's wear designers. It's a lot easier to become someone else, and I was able to find my own identity. And then I really wanted to go to the RCA to be able to develop my menswear skills further, because I don't feel like I really got to fully craft what I learned at Kingston, because you're learning a whole new body type, and I feel like menswear has a lot more rules to it. So when we think about tailoring, there's a lot more construction rules, and it's also it's like learning a new sport again, basically. And then sportswear is like a whole new sector. So I was really able to develop my skills within those two years to become the person I am today. Obviously, I'm still learning. So
what I'm so struck by in your collection, I think it's a perfect kind of opportunity for us to talk about your style and your aesthetic, because you have taken and created some very signature garments, and I think first to talk about the role of movement and in your collections and also in your presentations. When I think about a Bianca Saunders garment, I think about the ruching and the torquing of the trouser, and there's a very tactile movement to the garments. And then also in your presentations, I wasn't at your graduate presentation, but there was an amazing moment that I saw about all the models coming together and converging. And then in your most recent presentation that I was, we were just there in January, and you had a 9:30 a.m. time slot, which was really challenging to kind of get everybody up and going and like ready to be looking at fashion. And the energy in that room was so electric. And to give a little bit of a insight to our listeners and our viewers about what you did, is you had these kind of separate areas set up, and there were single people and groups, all different kinds of guys dancing around in their own kind of personal ways. And the music was amazing, and it also felt very personal, and it was immediately charming and enrolling. And that room was mobbed, first thing in the morning, and the energy was, cocktail hour. I mean, it was like really full on, and that's hard to do. And the thing that I was so struck by it was how personal it was to each of these gentlemen that you cast, and how some of them were clearly like amazing dancers. Others were really shy, but that was also charming. Tell me about how you came up with that concept, and how also it absolutely highlights the movement in your clothing.
Initially, when I started looking at movement and suggestions in like how guys sort of move in their clothes, would just be like observing, I guess, talking to my friends and like filming them and watching them become either comfortable or uncomfortable, and just watching how the clothes like sort of relaxed. So I was trying to capture those moments within it. So like my first since starting the brand, my first 4 collections have been like using that idea and like going back through those videos and like noticing those small like little nuances and creases in the clothes. And that's what sort of developed me into like really pushing draping on the mannequin, and I guess using things I learned from women's wear and introducing it into my menswear. And then the autumn winter 20 collection from last season, I just really wanted to introduce myself further into my brand, and like being of like Caribbean descent and Jamaican heritage, like the dance or like scene. I remember like my dad used to like buy those videos, we'll watch, or he would watch them, and it'd be like a little bit too late for me to even be around, trying to spot who you knew in it, and like that sort of like sound system culture, and like people wanting to be in front of the camera light and express themselves and move, no matter how good or like bad they was. It was all about showing off how they dressed and showing off the outfit. So when it came to like doing the casting, I did like an Instagram call out, and then we also like sent it to agencies as well too. It was like myself, Karen Binns, who's a stylist for my brand, and Naja, who does the castings, and like Kiara, who's like helps the operational management for like my brand as well too. So it was like, imagine like a 4-panel. So it was almost like being in American Idol or something. And then we got the guys to do like front, back, and sides. It's like a normal like casting. And we'll get them to walk like as if it was like a runway. And then I would turn on the music and get them to dance. Some of the guys obviously got like really shy, because it's like, whenever do you get asked that you're not a dancer to come to an audition to dance? But I wanted every single guy to just do how they feel, because when you go to a club, not everyone has that sort of like natural movement of
of course.
They're like, I hope people are watching me, but I'm really feeling the music, kind of thing. So just, I guess, creating that natural effect is something I try to implement a bit in my brand.
I found it really charming because, again, you could see that some were like amazing dancers. You could see again, we talked about the vulnerability of the masculine. And I think you could really see that some of these guys were really uncomfortable, but powered through it. And it was really enrolling, like you kind of rooted for them. And also such a great way, exactly. And you also kind of, it was a great way to see the clothing. I want to talk a little bit about construction. As we spoke about before, like tailoring is no easy thing. And things sartorial are really challenging. And you developed this jacket with a really, really signature shoulder. So I want to read what Charlie Porter wrote about this shoulder construction that you've developed, because I think there's no reason for me to even paraphrase. He did such a beautiful job, and I want to share it. On jackets, Bianca has developed a signature shoulder that combines strength and softness. A shoulder pad sits on top of a sleeve head that's tucked in underneath, creating a correct tailored line with a shoulder that reveals sensitivity beneath. I mean, that description of a garment is so loaded, and it talks to you inherently about taking this very kind of signature masculine uniform, creating this kind of moment of sensitivity and vulnerability. I just think it was so beautifully written, but I want to talk about this construction you came up with, because we talked about earlier where there are only so many garments in this kind of male wardrobe, and a jacket is one, and it's so hard to kind of even try to reinvent, and yet you've created this new construction, and it's amazing. So I'd love to talk about your inspiration and how you did that.
So it's kind of been like a development from when I was at like the Royal College of Art doing my graduate collection. So I had this particular jacket where I really wanted to show the natural shoulder of a male. And then usually guys' shoulders are quite broad anyway. So like having a shoulder pad, it's almost like a unnecessary step in a way. But it is, for some it is necessary. But just trying to show what's naturally underneath there, I guess, was an idea of like around vulnerability as well too. But originally it was like literally hand sewn to the sleeve, so it was like a gilet sort of like technique. And then I've also developed it further where I'm able to construct the jacket in a more easier way to sew together, because it was such a difficult pattern to even make it commercial that I have really just been working on it to make it the perfect jacket for my brand. And I think it has become continuous. So like even last season I had that technique in the denim jacket, I had it in the cream like long coat, and you can still see that. So from the front it kind of just looks like a normal jacket until you stand to the side, you see that there's actually like construction detail within my work. And I guess having the opportunity to go to Brioni and like work with master tailors and like seeing like those sort of techniques and how I can like manipulate those. So I did that when I was at the RCA. Has been like a continuous thing I've been trying to like master in my brand, and I hope that something I'm known for.
I think the hardest thing as a young designer, whether just out of school or new to the market, is to develop a signature piece, a signature garment that's memorable, that customers want to buy again and again. And I think you've done that with your ruched shirt. I think you've done that with this jacket construction. They both feel very, very much to me like a Bianca Saunders garment. And I think that's a great segue. You asked me a question that we had a conversation about, and I really want to talk about it because I think it's really important about how does a brand, like a fledgling brand, get into a major retailer. And for me, I think the first thing that came to my mind was signature garment.
Oh, I don't know. I feel like a lot of the steps I've done as a brand is literally been like, I feel like I'm a little bit half crazy, like having to jump in people's DMs that I like, brands I admire, or like, oh, for example, with like buyers, there was a particular buyer that I noticed that they started following me like from my graduate collection. And I was like thinking, oh, I need to like speak to them. I really would like them to get their advice and stuff. So I messaged them then. Luckily enough, they was coming to London. So we met for like a coffee. And they gave me some really sound advice in terms of like how I can develop my brand to be able to exist into stores. And I think the most important thing for, I guess, emerging brands is getting the right press, like getting it into magazines, getting it worn by the right people, and kind of utilizing the collection that you have, especially at graduate stage, for whenever you're going to get the chance to make, I don't know, like a 6-look collection to showcase to people and spend that much time thinking about it and creating like those sort of concepts. I think it's kind of, I wouldn't say it's been like a bit of a chance of luck. It's just been like trying to build and cultivate those relationships. I guess also the dream being in a part of like bigger department stores is like creating that sort of core collection, which I'm developing, but at the moment is still pretty difficult at my stage. Trying to keep the balance of creativity because my collections are quite small compared to most designers.
Yeah, sure. I think you touched on something that I think is really important, is this intersection of when is the store ready and when is the brand ready and when can the customer, because again, it's like, relationships with a vendor and a store, they're meant to be long-term, like they're meant to be partnerships, and you want to enter into a relationship knowing that you're going to really be in this together for a while. And I think it sometimes requires time to develop, and especially for young and new brands. But I also think it's our responsibility to kind of help nurture and to try to kind of take that timeline and shrink it a little bit so it's not so long from when I see a brand that I really, really love to when I think we've got a customer and associates that can believe in it. When something is in that store, that's advocating for a brand, and our customer really relies on us in our edits. So I think that's part about nurturing new brands. As much as we, have a lot of brands that have a lot of brand identity, I think our responsibility is also to bring in brands that may not have so much brand identity, but just by being with us, that's part of advocating and for our building that awareness. How many garments is in a collection of your, like 20? Like how many do you have traditionally?
At the moment I have, last collection was, I think it was about 26 or 30 pieces. Okay. So split up into like 14 looks. I would hope to be able to do more, but like literally I'm still like, I'm such a small brand. I'm the only full-time person that works my own company. So I think going slow and steady has really been like, of course it's definitely like frustrated me, like I really wish I was here by now. I really wish I had like I really wish I had a massive team to help me do all of these big things I dream and like have an ambition to do. I think at this stage it's quite important for a brand like me, like the first couple of collections should be the strongest work, because then it's the time you kind of get to be your most creative.
Without a question, before you have to merchandise.
Or like there's an actual like merchandising team like behind me.
Exactly. We need to see 5 versions of your ruched shirt.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
Where is it?
Where is it? Literally. Yeah. So I've just been at the moment trying to go through like what stores have like sold the most of, and then I guess implement that for the new season. Of course, like I have my moments I'm like a little bit stubborn, like I don't really want to make that again. I hated that part of the collection, and I'm pretty sure there's probably like loads of other designers that like have their most commercial piece and they see it every single season and probably feel the same way.
Oh, I think you're without a doubt right. And I think that is the quest. It's like finding the balance to make sure that you're creatively driven and also creatively satisfied, but then also finding enough of those pieces that are acceptable to you to recreate and maybe tweak, but that they form a little bit of a foundation. And I think that's a real challenge.
Now that we've had a bit of a lockdown time, I've had time to really just think about what I'm doing in my work process. And I've never had this much time to be this creative, and really digest what I want for the brand and really like establish my aims for it.
So you've had 4 presentations for London Fashion Week, and they've gotten obviously amazing responses, a lot of press, you have a lot of fans. And obviously now we're in a digital virtual realm for this London Fashion Week season. But before we were on lockdown, what was your thought? Like, what were you planning to do?
It's so weird because I feel like everyone sort of had the expectation for me to show like as a runway collection or show as a catwalk show. So then I guess as soon as lockdown happened, I was like, oh, this massive like disappointment. Am I still going to be able to create this like, well, of course there's still that prediction. Am I still going to be able to create the same sort of like interest in my brand if I miss out this season? So I've decided for June to launch my zine that I've been working on with Joshua Woods, Matt Holmes.
Who's a great photographer, and I know him also. He's great.
Yeah, definitely. And he's worked on like so many other campaigns. We literally shot that zine last year, April. But of course I have like so many other things I've been doing, and I even like did the whole graphics and like the like layout for the zine myself, because I'm really like, I just want to have full control of everything.
Understandable.
Yeah, so I guess moving into the new season, I wanted to continue the idea around movement, and I really want people to still have fun when they come to my shows and still have that like element of like coming back and wanting to stay and feeling like you really want to become a part of the party. So I really wanted to create a runway show where people are like, I guess, like instead of just walking around down the runway as a normal show, they're enjoying themselves. So I've been looking at a lot of like online videos of like people creating their own sort of catwalks, whether it's like a ballroom or whether it's people like coming in front of the camera. So the idea of like being performative and like becoming another part of yourself has been like the main part of my research. I'm not going to go into it too much because I don't want to give away all my...
No, we want the surprise. Yeah.
I don't want to show all my cards just yet, but that's the main idea. And I really hope that it still brings people that memory of like, oh, I remember when I saw Bianca Saunders show on, whether it's online or whether it's not.
Well, your presentations have always been memorable, so I would imagine that your runway and catwalk show would be absolutely memorable. We look forward to it, and hopefully it's sooner than later, sooner than we think. As far as garments and construction, like what's on your mind as far as the pieces you're working on right now, looking forward to the next season? How are you evolving artistically at the moment?
So I've just really been trying to, I guess, reconstruct the way that I'm tailoring my jackets. So tailoring my suits, more the fit, and then trying to broaden the range of like customer that it can appeal to. So not necessarily like introducing more tight-fitting clothing, but like introducing clothing that kind of like has a bigger age range. Because I feel like there's a lot of like people that have messaged me like, oh, they really love to wear this, but then it doesn't actually fit in their size, or it doesn't actually suit them for their age group. I'm working on like introducing a bit of print into the new season as well too. yeah, so that's actually really interesting.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm really like excited about that as well too.
And have you created the print? Are you working on the design of it? How did that inspire you?
So I guess looking at clothes again, looking at the way people move and sort of capturing it. So a lot of the prints are based around that.
And so given this new season, and obviously this is virtual, will you show buyers and editors in a virtual way? Like, how will you do your appointments, or how will you get your garments in front of people? I'm so curious to hear.
What I've aimed to do is just, I guess, keep in contact with the current buyers that I have, and then show it virtually, whether it's like a sort of like online website, private, or and then hopefully be able to get the items photographed well enough so that the buyers be able to see it properly. But I feel like people are really impatient when it comes to COVID-19, so I wouldn't be surprised if we end up being face-to-face again very soon.
I hope you're right. I would love it. I miss being in the showroom. I wish this chat could be in your showroom. And I think we're all yearning for that connectivity. I mean, humans in general, we're connecting people. Like we want to be together. But I think also the thing that's been so interesting to me and inspiring is the resourcefulness and the ingenuity of people in this time, like how we can do these conversations virtually, how we are taking appointments as buyers virtually. And it's not the same, and it's not a great substitute, but it's still like, we still find a way to move forward and continue to do what we do and find a way to express ourselves. So that's been so impressive to me, to find out how adaptable we as humans are.
I guess, to be fair, it's almost like online shopping when you kind of like buy it, you see it.
I mean, like, actually, it kind of literally is. Yeah.
It is, yeah. So I guess we shouldn't be complaining a bit too much now. I actually think when you just broken it down like that. Yeah.
But actually you make a really good point, because a lot of when the buyers are looking at collections, a big consideration is like, how is this going to look on a screen?
Yeah.
And it's really interesting that you bring that up, because I think it's a great point, because it's immediately apparent when you're showing it virtually what stands out to us.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting. Well, I would very much look forward to seeing your next show in person in London, and I hope it's sooner than we think. Bianca, I really, really appreciate your being with us today, and I'm so happy to talk to you about your collection, and I'm so excited for your development, and congratulations again on 30 Under 30. Thank you, and thanks to our viewers for joining us for BFC's Creative Conversations.